evening, Toronto, and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. I am here alongside with Sofia Peralta, and today we take on Mackenzie King. 21 years and 156 days of being a Prime Minister. This is going to be interesting. Here we are.
And Mr. King, can you tell me why did you admire Hitler?
I've been to Germany 3 times. In 1937, I went to Berlin to visit Hitler. I went during the Olympic Games. I was shown the youth camps, labor camps, and the Berlin Zoo, so naturally I was impressed. Because I had been there before, we had a lot to talk about. He seemed to be a really sincere man.
Anti-Semitism policies in Canada during the 1940s.
Canada followed the mainstream trend. It was never restricted. We followed what everyone else was doing. It was a part of the media and it was learned in schools.
What did Hitler reassure you about, and what did he say his intentions were during the meeting?
When we met, he explained to me that he had no intentions of war, but of course that was a lie.
Why did you particularly keep in mind the French while deciding that you were not going to enforce conscription overseas?
Conscription has always been a sensitive topic for the French. They didn't believe that they should fight for Britain.
Did you believe that by getting the government and the businesses to work together, that there would be such a drop in unemployment?
I planned that by getting the governments and business to incorporate into each other. By doing this, I knew that it would be beneficial to unemployment.
What were the people's reaction to unemployment insurance?
Good and bad. People realized that they would have a safety net if they were to ever lose their job. But they also realized that there would be a raise in taxes.
In the 1940s, do you think it would have been beneficial if you had enforced full-blown conscription?
Maybe it would have, but I know a lot of people would have not been happy with my choices. The French really disagreed with conscription. After WW1, no one really wanted to join the military.
What do you think is one of your biggest changes you've made to Canada during your time as the Prime Minister?
The welfare state's probably the big one. I think a lot of people also liked unemployment insurance. I also got Canada through World War II and managed to keep the country relatively united in the process. I also brought Newfoundland into Canada.
And what was your greatest achievement?
In my opinion, I would say that I don't have one major achievement, but I have many smaller achievements. I would say that I am proud of how I steered Canada through industrialization, much of the Great Depression, and the Second World War.
How did you feel when Winston Churchill was not being appreciated for what you were doing for your mother country?
I would say some similarities are that we were born just 2 weeks apart in 1874. Also, we both forged long parliamentary careers, and we each led victories with our countries in World War II.
What are your thoughts on the internment of Japanese Canadians?
I issued a series of orders in council to evacuate all persons of Japanese origin to protective areas. No, I didn't think this was harsh because I didn't want any Japanese staying in my country. I needed to do what was right in the moment, and to me, this was right.
What was the legacy you wanted to leave for this country?
I would say that I made Canada grow into a more independent country, but I would still like Canada to grow when I am not the Prime Minister of Canada.
What was your biggest regret as being a Prime Minister for almost 22 years?
I regret on my part to demand more influence. That is the only major mistake I made on my part.
What was your biggest strategy on how to persuade the Canadian people to participate in the nation interest?
The biggest strategy I used to persuade the Canadian people to participate in the nation interest is propaganda. This honestly did so much for me and for the country.
How well do you think you handled the conscription crisis in 1917?
I feel like I could have handled the conscription crisis better. My action towards supporting conscription were violently opposed in the province of Quebec. The election in 1917 was completely focused on the conscription, and unfortunately, I lost. This is why I could have done better.
Are you proud of the accomplishments you made during the Byng affair?
I am very proud of my accomplishments made during the Byng affair. Although my power was being overthrown and other Byng tried to form another government, it did not work as the government did not win enough commons. I am glad that this crisis was resolved with non-interference in Canadian political affairs.
What are your thoughts on the baby boom?
I think that the baby boom was amazing as our country was a combination of peace, prosperity, and homecoming during this time. Many economic conditions and government made it easier for spouses to start a family and have children. Overall, I am very pleased with the baby boom.
If you could take back the plebiscite you made in the 1940s and had a chance to make your own decisions and not the citizens of Canada, would you?
No, I would not take back the plebiscite I made in the 1940s. Even though the plebiscite caused many issues between English and French relations, I understood what was going on, and I would like Canada as a whole to make a decision rather than just me.
Did your loss of seat have any effect on you in the election of 1911?
Yes, my loss of seat in 1911 did have an effect on me. I wish I did not lose my seat, but I toughened up and worked as a labor consultant for the Rockefeller Foundation. No matter what, I will always try my hardest to win a seat.
Was it helpful to introduce unemployment insurance in 1940 and family allowance in 1944? Why did you introduce both of these?
I think it was very helpful to introduce unemployment insurance in 1940 and family allowance in 1944. It is unfair to cut money from citizens just because they lose their job. Giving them temporary financial assistance will help them to maintain their houses and family until they find another job. I also think it was very helpful to introduce family allowance in 1944. Families were assured help to cover the cost of child maintenance.
On behalf of Mackenzie King,
Thank you and good night.
Good evening, Toronto. Welcome to the 6 o'clock. Stop. Good evening, Toronto, and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. Today, wait, Sophie, what? Good evening, Toronto. Welcome to the 6 o'clock evening news. Today, Sophia will stop laughing. Good evening, Toronto.